Hi, everybody. Welcome to Theme Thursday. Welcome back. This is our third Theme Thursday virtually. We're excited to be doing it. If you didn't already know, Texas A&M San Antonio is a Clifton Strengths campus. We are thrilled to use Clifton Strengths in many different ways on our campus, and of course, have all of our Clifton Strengths coaches who will be joining me today. In addition to that, we do Theme Thursday every Thursday. Normally it is a table where we get to engage with our students, but during this time of COVID-19, we are making sure to still bring these resources to you, and this will be available via YouTube and JagSync. So we're excited to continue Theme Thursday and continue the conversation with all of our different strengths and understanding them better. And today I have three Clifton Strengths coaches with me. I'm so thrilled to have all of you guys. If you guys want to introduce yourself, Clarissa, you can go ahead and start.
Hi everyone, my name is Clarissa Tejeda and I'm the Assistant Director of Career Services at the Mays Center, but I'm also one of the certified coaches on campus. So really excited for a great conversation today.
Hi everybody, my name is Kaelyn Friese. I am also one of the Clifton Strengths certified coaches on campus. I'm the internship coordinator in the Mays Center as my role on campus, so in general.
Hello, I'm Heather Olague. I'm the Executive Director of the First Year Experience, and I'm also a certified strengths coach on campus, and I'm excited to be here with you all today.
Wonderful. We are thrilled to have all of you. It is always exciting for me to get to spend time with some Clifton Strengths coaches who are just wealths of knowledge. And today we're going to be talking about learner, which Heather actually has this strength in her top 5, so she's our resident expert today. But the strength of learner is people who are exceptionally talented in the learner theme, have a great desire to learn and want to continuously improve. The process of learning rather than the outcome is what really excites them. So Heather's going to share with us more about that as we kind of get into this conversation. So Heather, kind of in your own words, could you explain for me, like, what does learner really mean for you?
Yeah, so learner, like the slide you just had starts, it's just about the process, right? Being able to go through that process of learning. A quick example is even before here, I went to my app, pulled up learner and reread it. I have it. I've probably read it 1,000,002 times, but it was like, I just want to be sure one more time, right? And I probably have known that paragraph and could have recited some of those sentences, but it was just the process of, let me just double check and see if there's anything new that I didn't recall from that description. And it's just this ever evolving process of learning new things, of adding on knowledge, and that there's never a finish point for it. It's never complete. It's this circular process, so to speak, where it's what can I add and to the information that I already know and build upon it, or if I'm starting from the ground up. And so it's just a very exciting process for me. And I don't necessarily have to like complete the task or become like an expert in it. Like, it's just like, oh, that's how that works. Cool. And then I can move on.
You know what, I can totally see that in you. Every time I'm in a meeting with you, you're like, oh yeah, I have this great idea. And I'm like, how do you always have this knowledge? And you get just so excited about it. So I can totally see the learner in you without a doubt.
Oh yeah, I thrive in conferences because I'm just like, oh, new material and new material and new material. And for the most part, I'm an introvert. Like I'm not a woo. But it's just that ability to soak up so much information, and I'll even like go to the tables and be like, oh, I didn't go to this session, but they left this information, so let me see what they had to say. And it's just, yeah, I love and I do love engaging with other people and hearing their ideas and what are they find that's working and what's not working, and then just kind of compiling that all together, and then knowing at some point, hopefully I'll be able to share it, whether that's at a meeting or for a work project, and just that it's there and I can rely on it at some point.
I think it's really cool too. You've said it a couple times, but I was listening to a Clifton Strengths podcast, and what they said is the excitement for learning. You find genuine joy and excitement in learning. And I know not everybody can say that. So I think that's a really interesting attribute of a learner is the joy in the learning. Awesome. Kaelyn, is there anything you'd like to add?
I'll just kind of piggyback off of your comment with the excitement and the joy in learning, in that the learners typically, that's kind of infectious, and it's not necessarily, like Heather said, there's an end point, but it's about the process of learning, and the excitement of gathering that information, and maybe not necessarily knowing when you're going to use it or how you're going to use it, but just that you're excited about learning something new. Typically, I think people who have learner, I've heard them say a lot like, oh, I just found this the other day, when they meet somebody, even if it's just somebody they don't know or somebody that they see on a regular basis. They're like, oh, I read this the other day, or I know this. And so those are just kind of the pieces that stick out to me when it comes to the learner theme.
Very cool. So kind of moving on to our next question is examples of where learning or being a learner has really helped you either in your life or in your career, and what those examples might look like.
Right. So I'll leverage our current situation, but also share a different situation, so that in case we're sick of COVID stuff. But I mean, right now has been a great example of my learner that is just constantly going as we are trying to evolve and find ways to meet our students where they're at, and so that they can be successful, especially the students that are within my office as they remote work, many of them for the first time, and are using tools. So constantly looking at different ways and learning how the functionalities of these different virtual spaces work, whether it's Zoom or WebEx or Microsoft Teams. And we're just constantly in this state of learning new things. Oh, did you try this, or did you try that? I think most people know, but for those that don't, I've got 4 girls that are home right now doing online learning from 12 years old to 6 years old. And so we are learning all together of how to navigate this, because I love to learn. But I decided in my first semester of college that I did not want to teach in a traditional sense of K through 12. But now I am right there trying to teach and learn all at the same time, and learning just different tricks that we can do, capabilities of our phone for, I don't have a scanner here, but I can scan using my phone. And I, found that little, trick to get documents uploaded into their Google Classrooms. But outside of this current situation, when I came on board at A&M San Antonio, my task was to build the first year experience from the ground up, and be ready in, I think it was like 4 months to launch orientation, and 7 months to welcome a brand new class of first year students. And so that I think learner really helped in those kind of challenging times, and those times where it was overwhelming, because that excitement of being able to learn new things, and in this case, not just learn them, but actually implement them, was very exciting. And so I think sometimes just that excitement that learner brings to me helps in those moments when times are tough, or you feel overwhelmed, or things just aren't going well. That excitement kind of sneaks in and kind of brings some sunshine when things aren't going like you had hoped, and then it allows you to kind of refocus, remember kind of why you're here and that what brings you joy, and get you back on track.
Yeah, I love the fact that you mentioned, again, the current environment, right? So my husband works in K through 12, and there's been such, again, a learning curve, right? And learner's actually in his 5, and he really has kind of taken that subject matter expert. He's kind of like, you know what, I'm going to lead the charge here. I recognize this is a scary opportunity. I'm going to research every form of platforms. He was asking me, hey, what are y'all using? He was starting to benchmark off of other schools, starting to talk to some of our other higher ed friends, distant learning faculty that we know, just so he can offer that content back to his district, because they needed it. Unfortunately, he didn't have another person that had learner in their 5 on his immediate team. So he really did use that natural skill of, data gathering and, hey, we can do this. This is how we can implement it here. And I love also the fact that you mentioned implementation also. He's like, I learned all this great stuff and now I'm actually seeing it being done. He's thrilled by that. It's still learning curve, but it's something that was really exciting for him to be able to share that content, and for him to see change has been really cool.
I'll add to that. You guys can see my little in the background getting some water. But that learners, something that I think is really interesting about learners is, I may have already got to this a little bit, but they like the process. But part of the process is also that they have a natural instinct and ability to break down what they've learned and teach it to other people, because they really like a sponge absorb all of that information and are able to share it out once they have it. So I think learner in a teacher's top 5 is excellent, but if you have a learner on your team, pull them in times like this, like current situations like this. So as you're learning new knowledge, as you're learning new concepts and how to use technology, etc., pull that piece out of that learner on your team to help them share any processes that they've learned with your team, so that everybody can improve, whether they have learner or not.
Yeah, that is really interesting too, because learner is the second most frequent strength. It's found in about 29% of Clifton's or Gallup's 11 million plus people who have taken the strength. So I think it's really interesting that learner is a pretty high up there out of all of the strengths. And, a couple of words that people would use to describe the learner is, a student, an explorer, a self-helper, someone who is curious. And I think you guys have hit that kind of every single step of the way, is that it's that person who is curious and wants to learn more and then share that knowledge out. But what are, I guess, some of the challenges of being a learner, or what are some ways that it has been a little difficult? Because we've talked a lot in Clifton Strengths in our previous 2, and of course throughout the semesters, of it's not all sunshine and roses with all of your strengths, and developing those strengths can sometimes be a real process. So what are some of the challenges that you've seen, Heather?
Yeah, I think sometimes it can get overwhelming, and maybe not necessarily for me, but for those who are interacting with me. And so I try to be very mindful of kind of like just an information dump when someone might not be ready for it, or I've learned to like give my team a heads up, like, hey, I saved a bunch of different links and resources. I have a visitor. Bunch of links and resources like over the weekend as it related to, say, like virtual events, and I'll give them a heads up, like, I'm gonna email it to you, but look at it, when you have that ability. And that's, then what I did, I took all the little saved things that I saved and put them in an email and kind of categorized them and then sent them out. But I've learned to give like heads up, because it can be very overwhelming to someone who's not expecting it. Like, what are you doing? Like, I didn't need any of this information right now, and you're just throwing a ton of stuff at me. Why there's not necessarily, like, say, that endpoint, sometimes if I'm not careful, I can find myself thinking that I don't have enough and still going and going and going, and don't actually get to, say, solve the problem at hand or work on the task at hand, because it's like, oh, I constantly need more. And so kind of reminding myself, like, at some point You just gotta be good with what you have and trust that what you have and go ahead and act on it. And then if something happens along the way, then go back and gather that knowledge based on what you learn, but not being afraid to enact something or start something like I don't know, do I know enough? Do we have enough information? And so I think that can be a kind of the edge of learning, and when it get of learner, and when it can get you in trouble is at some point you have to stop the research process and act, and not just consume.
It's so interesting that you say that, because we just had Activator 2 weeks ago. And that was one of the things that the activators had said was a challenge, was that other strengths want more information. Like they just need more information before they can act. And that is so interesting. I think you've kind of headed into like tips for collaborating with a learner, but that's something I think all strengths are kind of understanding, is they come into play at different times, and that there is challenges for all of them, and collaborating with each other is the most important part, but understanding other people's strengths in that collaboration. So, you know, when we know that we have a learner on the team, and you know that you have maybe 2 activators on the team, having that understanding in advance is really helpful too as well. Clarissa, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think having to ground it with your other strengths is so important, right? Again, I pick on my poor husband because learner is so high in him that there's books all over our house. There's so many projects that he may have started, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, this, and this. But he grounds himself using Achiever because he's like, oh, you know what? That's why it's going to be important for me. I'm actually going to follow through. I'm going to complete it. So even being mindful of, you know, how are you going to use the rest of your 5 to really allow that learner to shine? Heather, how do you do that with yours?
Yeah. So I have responsibility and restorative in there, also analytical. And so a lot of times there's direct links with those, with the learning, right? The connecting the dots, the seeing the bigger picture, and then solving that problem, right? And getting to the root of the problem so that it's not just a Band-Aid fix, right? And then my responsibility to others. So you're absolutely right, Clarissa. The other strengths around it kind of ground and guide where that learner is going in that direction that it's going, right? And that responsibility kind of helps keep those deadlines intact, right? Well, okay, I've got to stop because I told so-and-so that I was going to get this to them by the end of the week. And if I keep going, I won't get it to them by the end of the week. And I think the analytical and the restorative, kind of depending on the situation, help keep it so that it's not down too many rabbit holes, right? That help kind of keep that learning aspect focused, right? Where it's not that I need to read the entire book and all 13 chapters. I might just need a chapter out of that book. I read that chapter and then I put it down and I can move
on. Can I just ask a quick question, Heather?
Sure.
With learner, I've noticed that if you have it, you really like changing environments or opportunities to learn and grow. And so have you ever found yourself in a situation where you kind of feel like you've plateaued in the learning and and that bothers you, or that learner piece to you kind of isn't being fed? How do you overcome that? And, or like, how is that a piece that applies to learner in you, I should say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think there are definitely those times where it can plateau, or you kind of feel stuck. And I think for me, sometimes it's like the direction. Which direction do I want to take something? Like I know those learning pieces are out there, but it's like, but what direction is going to be most effective, right? And specifically in the role that I do, right, most effective with engaging students. And so yeah, it definitely exists, and it can be frustrating. Sometimes I'll refocus my efforts and I'll just kind of pause on it and just say, maybe I just need some time away. And so, and actually just take a pause from that learning. It's a tactic that I've had probably for a while. I can recall specifically doing it, say like with math problems. I'd get real frustrated with a math problem, couldn't understand, didn't matter how many times I'd look back at my notes or my book. But then I would just step away for an hour, refocus on something else, and then come back. And then I was like, oh, it would click, and I'd be like, man, why couldn't I figure that out an hour ago? And so sometimes it's just stopping the learning process and stepping away from it is what I found to kind of be helpful. It kind of like clears everything. I think sometimes when you have all that information and it's all going and going and going, it can just get to be a lot, right? And if you think about my analytical and the connecting the dots, right, I just have this crazy maze of all these lines in my head, and just being able to kind of take a deep breath, turn away, go away, and almost like clears the slate and allows some clarity to come through.
Wow, very cool. I think it's really interesting. Something I heard earlier was that you're driven by the desire and the belief that not knowing is temporary. Where I feel like there's a lot of maybe others or people who don't necessarily have a learner's strength, or someone like me, if I don't know it and I'm getting frustrated, I'm like, this is never gonna end. I'm never gonna know this. And I think it's really interesting that the learner has that innate ability to say to themselves, this is temporary. I can learn this and I will learn this because I am enjoying this process, whether it be a little frustrating, but the process that it's really enjoyable. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so thrilled to have you guys here. Of course, you're all experts at everything you do. Heather, everything with first year experience is so amazing. You're doing such amazing work, and we are always thrilled to have you around and to hear your input on what learner is and what these strengths really mean. Because we are a Clifton Strengths campus, like I said earlier. All of our students, have the capability to take this and really understand their strengths on another level and how they can incorporate that in their studies, in their leadership opportunities, in their work. I know Clarissa, with our career services, we talk about Clifton Strengths. There are many companies in San Antonio, in the nation, in the world that are looking at these strengths to understand their teams better. So anytime we get to chat like this, I'm excited always for Clifton Strengths conversation. But we're just excited to have you here too, and to share so much about learner, because each strength is so different and so interesting, and each person uses it differently. So I'm just thrilled to hear from you about what it means for you.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to share.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just said I'm happy to share. Strengths has been a really cool experience for me. Again, that's that part of that's that learner coming out like, ooh, something new, like, let me see. But it really has been fun over the years to be able to spread this knowledge to the students and, kind of see them make those connections and what it means. Because, a lot of it at the end of the day is awareness, right? And understanding not only how you work, but how that works with others. And the great benefits that has when you're like, oh, that's why you just want to like go run and sprint. And I'm sitting here going like, we haven't even read a chapter yet or looked at an article. And right, one's not good or bad, but when you can understand that, right, then it makes that ability to collaborate with others just easier. Because then I can be like, okay, I'll let you run, but can you give me 3 hours? Like, and then you can sprint all the way down and do what you need to do. And you're like, okay, I can give you 3 hours, I'll go jog in place somewhere else. And then you run sort of. So I'm so glad that our campus is doing this and that y'all are doing the theme Thursdays. And I'm really excited to see our student population hopefully become more and more in love with strengths. And like you said, there's lots of corporations that utilize this. And so I think anything to kind of give our students that leg up, right, that competitive edge is great value added that we can add to their experience on campus.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you guys all three of you are available for coaching sessions. I've had coaching sessions with multiple of you, and it's always fun. And it's really that, again, a continued learning process. I learn more about my strengths every day. And speaking of my strengths, the next Theme Thursday is oh man, you know I've got it in my top 5. So that is next Thursday. That's our Woo Strength. We're gonna have a special guest with us again. I can't wait for that. I love
Kaelyn
Woo.
and I aren't ready. Kaelyn and I,
I know it's going to be
so fun.
interesting. Can I just, on my little cards here, can I just add to that quickly, being my card? So we have these little theme dynamic cards, and being next week is Woo and this week is Learner, they do have a theme contrast for those two on the card. So Learner is I am always interested in learning something new, whereas Woo is I am always interested in meeting someone new. So just a little fun fact to get you to learn more about the Learner and a tease for next week.
It's so interesting. I'm a very introverted Woo. So this conversation will be very interesting. But you can always learn more at tamusa.edu/Jaguar Strengths, or on JagSync. We've got all of the Clifton Strengths opportunities for the Strengths 101 and 201, I think is what they are called. And they're just really great initial coaching opportunities, learning more about the strengths, getting your codes so that you can take your strengths assessment. So be sure to check all of those out as well. And then we have our social medias. You guys can always find us on tamusa.edu/Maze, maze@tamusa.edu, and all of our social medias, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. We are always here in the midst of everything that is going on. Heather and all of her team are working remotely. All of our, A&M San Antonio teams are working still, normal office hours. Some of them are normal office hours, some of them not so much. So make sure you're checking on what office hours are happening, but you can always reach out via email. Our campus is still here to support all of our students in any way that we can. And this is just one of those ways that we want to be sure to still disseminate information and continue that learning process. So make sure you join us next Thursday for Woo. Thank you guys so much for being here.
All right, have a great day, Jaguars.
Thanks,
Bye, Jaguars.
Heather. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Heather.
You're very welcome.